What's up, everyone? You are listening to the Punch Drunk Soul Podcast. These are open, honest, and inspiring conversations with real, everyday people and sometimes experts about their own struggles and triumphs with happiness, fulfillment, and finding a sense of purpose in life. You're listening to episode 2 of the Punch Drunk Soul Podcast. In this episode, I'm speaking with Jessica Dimas, a writer, blogger, and mom who's passionate about using the law of attraction and self-care in her daily practice. We talk a lot about her experience using the law of attraction to overcome a difficult situation in her life and how she's developed it into a practice that's really helped her create her ideal life. And then we also get into some practical tips and habits and routines that you can use in your life to actually do the same for yourself. So it's a really great episode, and for those of you who don't know what the law of attraction is, it's basically the theory that like attracts like. Essentially, that people and their thoughts are both made up of energy, as is everything else in the universe, and through the process of like energy attracting like energy, you can actually basically improve your own life, your health, your wellness, wealth, personal relationships, pretty much anything through kind of positive thinking. And basically saying that, you know, your positive emotions and positive thoughts will create more positive situations in your life. So yeah, let's get into it.
Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm super excited to talk to you. I think your story is like really fascinating, and I love how you use like the law of attraction in your blog. And I kind of just want to jump in and let you kind of take it away and maybe tell us a little bit more about how you got to be where you are now, and how you got to be there.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just give you like a little Cliff Notes synopsis.
Sure.
Of my background. I was born into a Southern family, and they were like hardworking, maybe like lower class or lower middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Like we always had food on the table, but we were paycheck to paycheck. And so I just basically remember growing up with like an attitude or beliefs that were more like work hard, be nice, like put others before yourself,
mm-hmm.
don't rock the boat. And yeah. And I'm sure probably a lot of people can like relate to that.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's just kind of like
just keep your head down and keep going.
Yeah. And just we're not one of those we weren't, well, I believe that we weren't that kind of, those kind of people that had money.
Mm.
And my family, we even kind of had like a bad perception of people who had money. And yeah, it was kind of just like, you know, people who have money likely sacrifice their life and happiness to have it. It's not worth it. They're greedy, or they have greed, or they believe money is everything. So I just kind of grew up like feeling like I didn't have that great of self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had been dealt like kind of a, you know, a bad hand in life.
Oh, okay.
I guess, you know, just kind of like, I guess, you know, just.
You just had it rough. You're like,
yeah, more just like, I'm not a person who has money. We are always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Mm-hmm.
And you work hard. And that's
without much in return.
Right. Like that's kind of like, and yeah, like I said, like you be nice. And so that's kind of the main beliefs and values that I held growing up.
Okay, interesting.
And yeah, I held those pretty much all through my 20s.
Okay.
Until I had something like I had like, you know, everyone has like a turning point.
Yeah.
And I had a turning point.
Love to hear about your turning point.
Yeah. I had a turning point like 4 years ago. And then about a year ago, I started my blog, jessicadimas.com, which is mostly about, it's about law of attraction and mindset and self-care. And that all has come like just in the last 4 years to me, ever since I had my turning point.
Right.
So
can you tell us what your turning point was? Can you talk about it a little bit?
My turning point, I was 28, and I was a stay-at-home mom. First time in my life since I was 16 that I wasn't like working an outside job, and I was staying home with my son. He was like 1, and then I was pregnant with my second one. And it was like an accumulation of years of negative beliefs and low self-worth. Then I think that like this whole situation happened. But what happened was that basically my husband, he had lost his job. I wasn't working. He was working 2 jobs to keep us afloat so I could stay home with our son.
Wow.
And I just remember the day that he called me and said that he had lost his job. And just like that feeling of like fear. My body went hot and, weak at the same time. And like I immediately thought to myself, like, of course you did. Like, because if I had a job, this wouldn't be happening. I'm not.
Yeah, you kind of expected it.
I did. I didn't feel like worthy of even being a stay-at-home mom. I had felt that whole time, the whole last year of my son's life, the first year I should say, I had just felt guilt for not working. And so when he lost his job, it was just so much more than him losing his job. It was just like all the years of feeling so low about myself and scared all the time and powerless, like I was a victim. It just all came to a head. It was just like, I don't know, the feelings of shame and everything, just like, it was so much.
Yeah, all at once.
Yeah, it was just like it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was just like,
yeah, the lowest of the low point.
Yeah, it was. And we had a mortgage and bills to pay that now we weren't able to pay because we had literally 0 income.
I'm getting stressed out just listening
I know,
to this.
I was like, I don't like to remember it.
Oh, God. So what did you do? I mean, how did you turn things around?
Well, we had to borrow money from family, and that was super shameful. I was just like so embarrassed, like once again we're borrowing money for something else. And we had to get food stamps, and we couldn't pay certain bills. Like our parents were helping to pay for the house and stuff, but not we kind of had to let our other bills go.
Okay.
And anyway, so it was just it wasn't a pretty picture. But one night, my husband was like, "There's this documentary I've heard a lot of people talk about that it's really good. We should probably watch it." And so we did. And it's called The Secret.
The Secret. Yeah, I was just gonna say, was it The Secret? I've seen it.
And that was the very first time I had ever heard any type of. I had never heard anyone say anything like that. I had heard of the law of attraction, and I honestly thought it was like attracting a mate, like it was like something to do with like romantic books or something.
I could see that. Yeah.
And so watching that documentary, it just like blew my mind, but at the same time, it felt like truth. Like I like really resonated with it. And since I was at, the bottom of the barrel and I was between a rock and a hard place, I really had nothing to lose by testing it out. And so I started testing it out. Like, that was my turning point when I was introduced to these ideas, and no one in my life had ever told me anything like this. No one even believed it.
Yeah.
And so I just started watching that documentary every single day.
Oh, wow. Every day.
Every day. Like, I was obsessed. I would play it in the background while I was doing dishes because I was like...
You're like, this is going to work.
Yeah, I was like reprogramming my mind, because if I even went a few days without watching it, I was slipping back into my old mindset of like, life sucks, I'm a victim, I have no control, like I just hope someone hires my husband. Like I was just, I kept watching it and then finding books on the subject and listening to I think Hay House it was like during the time of the year where they do their thing where it's like a slew of interviews. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to interviews.
Listen to a few of them.
Yeah. Just really inspiring interviews talking about people. People were talking about manifesting and law of attraction and stuff. So I just kind of like inundated myself with people who believe this stuff because I didn't have it in real life. Like no one, my family is not gonna, I had to like get it from this documentary and then other sources. So I just kind of inundated myself with it.
Yeah.
And that's
pretty cool. So like documentaries are so powerful.
They really
literally
are.
Changing your life. Yeah.
They really are. And my husband, he had like doubts. Like he kind of like a lot of people, he was like, well, Jessica, you can't just sit on the couch and manifest, whatever. And I was like, well, I think I can. So I'm just going to keep going for it.
And you showed him, too.
I did show him. He still gets mad, saw a little bit when he's like, Jessica, stop taking all the credit for the good stuff that happened to us. But I was like, well, I'm just saying. Never happened before. And then all of a sudden, I learned about the law of attraction and I start using this stuff. And then all this amazing stuff started happening.
You're like, I got you your job.
Exactly. I'm like, you should thank me.
That's so funny. So you watched it every day. Like that's really how you were able to kind of, like you said, reprogram your brain.
Yeah, my husband was worried for me. He was like, I'm getting disturbed that you're watching this documentary every day. And I was like, but it's not like that. It's just, I just wanted to keep the momentum going, like I wanted the encouragement to not fall back into the old beliefs of like, nothing's possible.
Yeah.
It's just by luck that something good may happen to you. I really was like resonating with this message of your mind is powerful and you have an imagination for a reason and it's to create your life. I was just like, I don't know, something about it just blew me away and so I became obsessed with it.
That's awesome. So really you were able to kind of go from living in fear and shame and guilt and like you felt like your life was just unlucky and unworthy to literally creating your ideal situation, it sounds like.
Yeah, I started off like very simple and it wasn't like cuz like I started off very simple. Like I started out with the basics that I needed in life, like my self-worth and stuff like that didn't come until later. But at first I was just like, I need money. We need money. I've got a baby on the way. I've got a toddler. I do not want to leave them. I was just, I just really wanted my husband to get a good job. So I just kind of focused more on the basics, like money first was like my first thing.
Okay. That's good to know because I'm sure that's what a lot of people are probably struggling with as well. So that's
because money affects us so much here in this human experience.
Yeah, it's the basics to get through the day.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So you were able to kind of can you tell us like what maybe you were thinking of and how you kind of structured your manifestation for that for his job?
Yeah. So like I already said, I was keeping myself inundated with positive people. Not anyone I knew in real life, but podcasts, interviews, books, the documentary. So I was keeping myself
So you weren't
inspired.
surrounded by like your friends and family. You said like
and I didn't
really
even tell anyone.
Believe in this. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because my family is from the South, like Southern Baptist. They would have been like,
you're crazy.
Get this girl to a church. She needs help. I don't know, but I didn't really tell anyone at first.
Yeah.
So, but
what do they think now? Sorry, I'm curious.
They think that because they prayed for me.
That they did this for you.
Yeah. My parents are still very, very skeptical. But they do kind of like, they just see it through their own perception of God.
Right.
They don't understand that when I say the universe that I mean God too, but just not the God the way they mean it or, the way they understand it. So yeah, but they don't really.
The higher power.
Yes, the higher power.
Yeah.
So basically what I did to manifest my husband, the best job he's ever had. And
he's still working it. Sorry.
He is. He's still in the field. And he has never been in this field. He was never in this field, but he was open. So like, we co-created it. Maybe not him so much knowing that he was co-creating it with me, but he wanted a better job. And every night I very simply I would think of 10 things that I was grateful for, which was brand new to me, being grateful. And so I would just think of 10 things. And like at the time, it was very hard, but I would just think, like, I'm grateful for my refrigerator that keeps my food cold. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful for my parents. Yeah. I would be, just think of what I was grateful for, even though it just felt like my life was in shambles. And then I would spend like 5-10 minutes visualizing my husband getting dressed up and taking lots of phone calls and going to work. Mm-hmm. And I visualized myself like being able to go to Target and just buy whatever I wanted to without having, because at that time we didn't go out to eat. We didn't buy, we didn't have any money. Even before my husband lost his job, it was like tight. Just like I had grew up. So that is literally all I did that summer. I just kept myself inspired. I did not let myself, partake in negative conversations. I did not surround myself with, just negative things. I just kept myself surrounded by people who believed in this stuff. Mm-hmm. Because it helped me keep my inspiration up. And then I just was grateful and visualized once a day.
That's interesting. Yeah, you really submersed yourself in it. I did. Yeah. Like fully. Yeah, like you avoided, like you said, all negativity, all negative people, and only shifted towards everything positive, everything inspirational.
I did.
And then watching this video every day and then visualizing every day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's some powerful energy you're putting out in the universe.
It was. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
those are some good, easy steps.
Steps for manifesting?
Yeah, those are some good practical steps.
Oh, yes, those are. Those are like my two main ones. Even now, it's like, think of what you're grateful for and just visualize. So powerful.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like, it's interesting that you were saying that you hadn't really been introduced even to like gratitude or like even that mentality, which is so interesting.
It was so brand new to me. I always thought that, because everyone would say, be grateful for what you have. But I always took that as like, I have to be grateful for what little I have. Yeah. And continue to be grateful for what little I have. I had no idea how powerful gratitude is.
Yeah.
Like you find something to be grateful for and the universe is like, oh, you like that? Here's this.
Here's a little more.
Yeah. Like it sends you more. When you're feeling grateful, you're attracting more things to be grateful for.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, exactly. That energy attracts that exact energy back. That gratitude. Very cool. I had been exposed to the law of attraction a little bit before too. I watched the same documentary. It probably was like around the same time too. I think I watched it actually maybe a little while ago, a little longer ago. But I thought it was like inspiring, but also a little bit like just far-fetched. Like at the time, it just seemed a little hard to believe and kind of a little out there and almost like magical. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people kind of have that same feeling about it. It seems like magic, you're supposed to like visualize something, ask the universe for what you want, and then it's supposed to like magically appear. Right. And it kind of just sounds, like I said, a little far-fetched.
Right.
But I've come to realize it's really not, it's not that magical, but it's really just about, like we were saying, attracting that same energy. Mm-hmm. And what you give out is literally what you get back in return.
Right.
But like, what might you tell someone who's thinking like this concept is a little out there? Like, how might you make it more approachable or like realistic to them?
I know that is kind of hard because a lot of people don't even want to accept scientific discoveries, like energy.
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
People in my family wouldn't.
Law of physics and stuff.
Yeah, they'd be like, energy. Like, no, we're not energy. It is hard
totally.
because I feel like most of the stuff I've read where it's like, really helps me understand the science behind it is that we are all energy. Mm-hmm. Like attracts like. And it's still kind of far-fetched for, I guess, people who aren't, big believers even in science. And to me, it almost is magical. It's like, and maybe I have that belief because I was raised so cynical and very, with a lot like a religious perception. But even religion itself is kind of magical if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm believing in something that I've never seen or whatever.
Definitely is.
So
they just don't see it as magic. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it is a similar concept. Yeah.
And so it's like one of those things, like when people, like even my husband's like that, he's very, what is it, left-brained or is it right-brained? I don't know. He's like very analytical and he's annoying. He's
right-brained, but I'm not sure. Right?
Yeah, I think it's right-brained. Right? Yeah, and he's like, it's nice how you can just read something and automatically believe it. And I was like, how dare you? But you know what? He doesn't have like, he also has chronic pain and he's always swimming upstream. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like slowly like guiding him, over to this side.
Are you? Is it
the pond?
Is it slowly working?
Yeah. I mean, he says like he believes in the law of attraction, but he just kind of like, he's like, but I want to focus like on the action. Everyone wants to focus on the action. Mm. Because it seems like, oh, well, you can't just sit on the couch and manifest something. And it's like,
I see.
Well, part of me believes that you kind of can, but I get it. The action is like, the action comes after the visualizing. Mm-hmm. If there is action that's going to be required.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I think, there's so many people out there who believe, work hard and you get, if you work hard, you're going to get what you want. And I do think a lot of people are like, you can't just sit on your butt all day and, think of what you want and it just magically appears. Like, obviously it doesn't quite work like that. But I agree with you. Like, the visualization needs to come first before the action, or else you almost don't even know what you're trying to bring about if you're not really clear on it.
Right. You're just like, you're going upstream. You're taking actions that, aren't necessarily going to take you to where you want to go, or else it's going to take you a lot longer. Yeah. And another thing is that, like, my husband, him saying that about people sitting on the couch, I'm like, but people who are feeling grateful and are visualizing and are excited for their goals, they're not going to want to sit on the couch. Yeah. Like, they're going to, want to get their hands in. It's like, you get so inspired and, like, you couldn't pay me to just sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't. I'm so like, when I'm visualizing and excited for something, I'm just
ready to go.
I'm excited to act.
Yeah.
And the actions come to you. They're like inspired. It's all fun. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, before this happened, I would have never thought I could make money from home unless I was doing like, 10 hours of data entry or something. Like, I would have to be working for someone.
Yeah.
And now I have a blog that's making me the same amount of money that I made at a full-time job before I had my first son. But I don't even, like, it's not work to me. Like, I love to write. Mm-hmm. And B, I don't even hardly write. Like, I'm not posting on my blog every day. Like, I'm not, like, sweating over my blog every day.
It's like, it. It's fun. Yeah.
Exactly. So.
It's amazing.
Things that I never thought were possible, I have realized they're so possible if you just believe and if you just, see it in your mind what you want before it's there.
Yeah. I've heard like the mind can't differentiate between something that you visualize and then something that's actually happened. So if you're visualizing in like vivid detail, the mind actually thinks it's real, and that's science.
Actually like. Yeah, that is a perfect, that's a perfect thing to say to people who have issues like accepting this stuff, is like they've done so many studies on athletes who, they monitor their brainwaves and stuff, and their mind thinks it's happening, and their muscles are like firing off.
Yeah.
And they're not even moving. So it's like, that's a perfect example of the scientific backing behind this stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up, my brother and I played tennis, and we competed in tournaments and stuff. And my parents would always try to, my brother especially, they wanted him to visualize. Because, I mean, I don't know, I think he was just in a different, mindset, I think, than I was. And they would try to get him to, like, really visualize the results that he wanted. And he even went to like a sports therapist, so like the therapist could kind of like help him visualize and stuff. Because like you were saying, they do this with professional athletes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, really, that your mind is that powerful. You just have to know how to use it. So yeah, right. I think that is that's a good example. I'll start using that with people.
Example. Yeah, I'm gonna steal it.
Can we talk a little bit about, I know this is an issue that I've heard from people before, and I personally I haven't personally tried to like manifest anything while I've been desperate, but I totally know what that feels like. And I know that, they say that you can't really manifest anything when you're desperate to manifest it. But how are you dealing with that? Because you were obviously like desperate for money.
I was super desperate.
How did you kind of, how did you deal with that?
I think if you're desperate and you're trying to manifest, there's this feeling inside of you. When you're desperate because you feel the lack of whatever it is that you want. Mm-hmm. And whenever you're feeling the lack, you're going to keep attracting the lack. And so that is hard. I mean, it's hard. It was hard for me. That is why I just kept inundating myself with positive, inspiring messages, so that I could just keep having like this faith that it was going to come. Mm-hmm. So instead of feeling scared, I was just feeling very optimistic. And like several instances happened where my husband had an interview, or like the second interview, and he almost had a job. And then it fell through the cracks. Yeah. I was like, what? And I could have totally said, this is not working. But I said, this must have not been the amazing job that you're meant to get, because
because it didn't work.
If it was, it would have happened. Yeah. So I'm just going to have this belief that wasn't meant to be. And you know what? After he got like hindsight, it was like, thank God those jobs fell through.
Yeah.
They were like the same type of jobs he's had.
And now he always had.
It would have been like, more struggle. It would have just, it might have relieved me in the moment, but we would have continued on with our little crappy lives of like paycheck to paycheck and never getting to eat out. He got a job totally out of his field, making like twice the amount of money and working half the amount of time.
That's so great. That's so awesome.
So you just have to keep the faith.
Do you think
when you're in it, do
you think that faith started? I mean, it's got to be so hard, but like, do you think the faith came from just you constantly surrounding yourself with it? Or do you think like since you had an upbringing in like religion, do you think that had any sort of, foundation for you kind of keeping the faith in this?
I don't, because I never had faith hardly when I was, just personally, I'm not like saying no one should have faith in whatever their religion is, but just for me, I didn't. It would never felt true to me.
Yeah.
So I do think it came from me just surrounding myself with that documentary, and just I was reading as much as any time I got a chance. I was reading, like E-Squared. I was reading books by Mike Dooley. I was just listening to Esther Hicks. Mm-hmm. Abraham Hicks, which is like, that was a leap. That's a leap. But
a little far-fetched for some people.
They are. Now I listen to them every day, but I wouldn't like start someone out who's just learning this stuff. I wouldn't be like, you should check out Abraham Hicks, because
they'd be like, you're kind of crazy.
Exactly. So exactly. So I was just reading books and I just kept myself afloat with other people's faith.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. What would you say is a good place for someone to start? I mean, the documentary, The Secret, might be a good place. Do you have any other, like, I know you listed off a few.
I love Infinite Possibilities by Mike Dooley.
Okay.
He is just so inspiring, and like the way he writes like really resonated with me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then also Pam Grout has a book called E-Squared, and that would be a great book for like people who are kind of looking for more proof.
Okay.
What's funny is that I wasn't looking for proof, so I hardly did any of her experiments.
Because
I was like, I know this is real, but I just love the book.
Oh, interesting.
And it was a really good book. And it was a New York Times bestseller, I think.
Oh, wow. I'll have to check that one out. I haven't heard of that one.
It's a really good one. So good.
Cool. Awesome. So do this every single day. Surround yourself with it. Stay grateful. Just trying to make some notes here. I mean, I think I'm gonna write some of these podcast notes so people can get them afterwards, because these are lots of good insights.
Oh yeah. And I loved how Mike Dooley, he always said, like when he was in a tough place, like he just visualized for like 5 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just went back, into life, into the grind. And he just had faith that was enough. And he said it always was enough.
Cool.
And I just got chills just even saying it. It's so true. It's like sometimes like you get so wrapped up, like I've done this, like I get so wrapped up in trying to visualize so hard. I'm like, oh, I haven't done it enough today. Or was that long enough? And it's like sometimes when you're in a hard place, just visualize for 5 minutes and have faith that that's enough, because it is. It's like that alone is doing so much more for you than the constant worrying and stressing, all those thoughts in your head. Like that's doing nothing for you. So if you just take 5 to 10 minutes to like visualize what it is you'd like to see.
Yeah.
That's super powerful.
I like that too, because I mean, I spend a few minutes in the morning trying to visualize what I want to manifest. So I'm glad you say that, sometimes it only takes a few minutes, but you have to have faith that that's enough. I think that's the key there. You can't stress like, oh, did I do it enough today?
Yeah, and like you go through the day like, oh my God, I just spent an hour gossiping on the phone with my mom, or I just, like you're going to like do human things, like you're going to have negative thoughts, and you're like, oh crap, like that probably just,
negated
everything I did this morning. Yeah. So that's like what he was saying, like you just have faith, like that is enough.
That's good to know too, yeah, because I feel like
not
we're all
that I'm
human.
saying you should, like you shouldn't just be sloppy all day.
Yeah, of course.
But don't like freak out if you feel negative or something.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, because we're all human. We're all gonna make mistakes. Yeah, we're all gonna get upset over the guy that cut us off on the freeway, like for a second.
Exactly.
Then we have to brush it off.
Yeah, I know. Like one of my worksheets at the bottom of it says like, everything is always working out for me. And I think another one says something like, every experience I have is for my higher good, or something like that.
My growth.
And one day it was just like traffic was like horrendous. And I was like, no, this is not for my highest good. I did not see how this is for my highest good.
You just can't see the good in it.
You get like mad when you think of it, like, oh, but that's
what would you tell people who are getting frustrated with, like, maybe they're not manifesting something as soon as they would like it, or maybe it's just not working out like quite the way they feel like it should. What might they be doing wrong, or like what would you tell them?
For me, when I'm not manifesting something, I always take a step back and I'm like, do I hold any beliefs that are contradicting my desire? Like, if you want money, but you believe money is the root of all evil, or like if you want a new house, but you believe that it's going to take like a year for your credit to get up to what it needs to be. Like, you're kind of like believing in limitations.
Yeah.
That's holding you back, because the law of attraction cannot bring anything to you that you don't fully believe. You know, like, it's going to keep proving your beliefs to you.
Yeah. So how would you say they should, get over those limiting beliefs?
It's very simple. I like to just write down, first I just write down all the beliefs I'm holding around whatever it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that's where I would start at least. Yeah, write them all down.
You just need to get them out onto paper, and like, at first they might come slow, but then they'll probably start coming pretty fast, and I will write out a whole entire page worth of like negative beliefs, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I like to write the opposite of those beliefs. Like, okay, or, I'll look for a theme. Like, what's my current theme here? Like, I believe this isn't possible because why? Mm-hmm. And I write down beliefs, like new beliefs that I want. And I've done this before where like I will write down a new belief and I will post it all over my house, like in my mirror, on my fridge, like a psycho. And one time we had friends that like needed to get something in our house, and my husband gave them our key, and like they went into it, and I was like, oh my God, like my creepy notes were like everywhere.
That's awesome.
And but it works.
Yeah. So you're just replacing them, replacing the
yes, because
beliefs.
You are, and you are training your brain, because a belief is nothing more than a thought that you have thought over and over again until it turned into a belief. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing is you're like cleaning out your subconscious. You're replacing it with a new belief, and the more you think it, the more your subconscious will take it as truth.
Exactly. It's just like the visualization thing. Your mind can't tell the difference. Yeah. Exactly.
And so you are just retraining your brain. And once you do that, once your brain starts accepting it as truth, then law of attraction will bring it to you, because it's always going to be proving to you what your beliefs are.
Yeah. I like those tips. Those are really useful.
Yeah.
So how important do you think, it is to align kind of with your true self and have clarity in this whole process? Because that's something that's something I write a lot about, and like I've found a lot of clarity myself in like aligning with my soul and my true self and like authentic self. And how would you say that plays like a role in manifesting or using the law of attraction?
I think it's like my number one priority. Because if you like, and the way like I do it is, that's why I write about self-care a lot, because self-care is like taking time to be alone and just be with yourself and be still and get very clear with how you're feeling and everything. Because when you just go through your day like kind of like responding to the world,
reacting,
you're reacting, and you're never getting a chance to hear yourself pretty much even think.
I totally agree with that.
Aligning with yourself is so powerful, because then you can, you know what you truly want. You're more aware of any of these beliefs that you're holding. You get much more aware of your feelings. And so you just keep getting more and more powerful the more you align with your authentic self. Yeah, and you're like we were saying earlier, once you're clear on your vision, like then it's much easier to see it. If you're not exactly, if you're not clear on it, then you don't know how to build that visualization in your mind. Yeah, and you can't really picture it. It's kind of like, it's fuzzy almost. Right. It's like people who can like you can picture a lemon and how it tastes and smell and everything, but like if you're like really fuzzy on what something is like, it's gonna be a hard time like visualizing it and therefore attracting it, or even knowing if you're on the same level as that. Like if you're on the same vibration, I should say, is what I mean. Is like you don't really aligning with yourself just helps you get clear on your feelings and what it is you're wanting. How detailed are your manifestation or are your like visualizations? Are you going into like the touch and taste and smell and sound, or like, how detailed are they? Or how detailed do you think they need to be? That is what I try to do. Yeah. Every sense. Yeah, I think it's like more powerful if you can like
feel it.
Yeah, like when I envision, say, like a house, like I feel on my feet the type of flooring I want.
Wow.
Or like something, or like, you know, you really put yourself there and you're just enjoying the visualization because it feels so real. You're just like right there. It's kind of like when you remember a very pleasurable memory.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I remember, you know,
Just
San
brings you
Diego
back.
is like our place. Yeah. I just like, I remember San Diego. I'm like, oh, I can smell the salty air. My children running across the sand's usually kind of, you know, cool, and they're running towards the beach, and like you can remember all these things, and that's kind of like what I try to do when I visualize. I try to put myself there. Mm-hmm. Maybe even if I've never been there, but I just try to put myself in there.
Yeah, I think I need to do a better job of that. Just be fully there. And that's going back to like your brain doesn't know the difference. If you're feeling like what it's like to be there, then your brain actually thinks you are there.
Because I bet, like athletes are like envisioning themselves running.
Yeah.
Like they're probably like, you know.
Their heart rate goes up.
Exactly.
They're sweating.
They're all in it, envisioning it. So that's like what we want to do when we want to picture something that we want. Just like really put yourself in it. And like The Secret said, if you can't picture it, go out and like they said, like test drive a car that you want, or go to the model home that you want. Mm-hmm. Do something that like puts yourself there so that you can like visualize it better.
Yeah.
So I thought that's a good tip.
Yeah, that is. So what would you say are your daily habits like that keep you centered, that, you know, have you kind of working on your new manifestation? Like, what are you doing every day? Are you still watching The Secret every day?
I'm not, but having this conversation kind of makes me want to. Every day I do a morning, I call it my morning self-care routine, but I have like 2 to 3 books that I read like a page out of. Mm-hmm.
Are they different books all the time, or are they the same ones that you've like used for the past couple of years that you just keep going back to?
One is Simple Abundance, and she definitely does touch on law of attraction type stuff, and not everything that she writes in that book I really agree with, but I like that book because it's just inspiring and like encourages me to remember to love myself. Mm-hmm. And another book I'm using right now is called Heart Thoughts by Louise.
Okay.
Oh, it's amazing, and it's a perfect for a day book, like where you just read 1 page in the morning.
I'll have to try that.
And that's also one that just inspires me. And then I usually read something. I definitely like to keep like law of attraction-y type books in my rotation, because I just like to keep that
going, that motivation.
Yeah, that momentum going, like reminding me. Because even still, like I don't have anyone in my day-to-day life around me who's like, you know, really into it.
Yeah. That's what I love about social media too. Like, it helps connect you with the people who.
Yes,
that's how we connect.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just I just do self-care. I make sure that I have time alone every day.
Yeah, that's so important.
And I have 2 kids, and I homeschool them, so they're always with me. But I do find ways, and even if it's just 15 minutes, it makes all the difference in the world to be alone and just kind of still and quiet. And I really like to do like the guided meditations at night. Like I'll do one before I go to sleep, because those help me, especially like if I've had a long day without getting able to have my self-care time. But guided meditations, I have a post on my blog.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you have like a few good ones. Yeah,
I do. I share on there like my favorite one, and that's the one it's like very much into. It just is the perfect sequence. Like you visualize, you let go of any hard feelings that you have, you know, between anyone in your day, and you spend time being grateful.
Okay, cool. I'll have to get the link from you and then share it with the notes that I'll do. Very cool. So, how do you think if someone, listening right now, if they wanted to go start manifesting and using the law of attraction every day, what would the first thing you think they should do? Like, what's your first recommendation for their starting out point?
I would say surround yourself with like-minded material. Because if you're just starting out, like, you might have doubts and stuff, and it's very easy to go back into your old patterns of thinking.
Yeah.
So read books, listen to inspiring podcasts like this one, listen, just surround yourself with this material, because it'll just help keep your faith. And that's the first thing I would suggest.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's very practical, as well as I think it's important, because I even have a hard time like keeping the faith in it. So I'm going to start doing that, because I haven't even dedicated as much time to it as it sounds like I should be doing.
I do the same, actually. I go through phases where I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't read a law of attraction book, or I haven't done something, and like, it's not like every single law of attraction book, they may be saying kind of the same general things over and over again, but I keep reading them for two reasons. One is because every person has some tidbit of like a perspective that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
And then the second one is just because I just need to keep it just inspires me and helps me keep my own faith in like the magic of the universe.
I'll have to pick up a few more books, because The Secret is really the only law of attraction thing I've exposed myself to besides your blog. So I need to, I'll definitely pick up a few of the books you've mentioned too.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to ask what you're working on this month, like in your own personal or like self-development. Obviously you're always working on the law of attraction and, bettering your practice, but is there anything else specific that you might be working on that you would share with us?
I'm actually, it's not just like this month, actually, it's probably going to take me a long time, but I have been finally willing to go down the treacherous and murky path of loving and accepting my body.
Can sometimes be a tough one.
Yeah, and I want to do this because obviously I'll just feel better.
Yeah.
But like, if I'm holding on to anything that like I don't feel worthy of stuff, I'm holding myself back from things that I want to manifest too. So I just want, like, I've put it off because I guess it's like manifesting money and stuff, even though like I grew up with very negative beliefs around money. It was kind of easier for me to try to manifest that and fix my beliefs around that. But like my body and myself, like accepting what I find, accepting what I don't find acceptable.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's going to be hard. It's an evolution, always a work in progress. I know I'll always be a work in progress. All of us will.
We're always changing.
We're having a human experience. Yes. So like, you never have to feel like there's a place where you're going to get where you've made it. Yeah. Like I'm good now.
Yep.
Like we're all going to be constantly working on something to go to the next level that will take us to the next level.
Yeah, that's good advice, because I feel like, some people think, oh, that person's got it made,
they have it figured out.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Like our little, I have, gurus that I'll follow, and you just think like, wow, they probably don't think a negative thought all day.
Yep.
They've got it down. They're making millions of dollars. Their life just looks amazing. But it's not like that.
Yeah. They all have.
They're always working on something too. They're always evolving. Like that's what we all came here to do, is to grow and evolve. So
yeah, everyone's always working towards something, and that's like part of the beauty too. Is like you have to learn to enjoy the process as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what do you think is? I'm trying to, I think, ask this pretty much of all the podcast guests, but what would you define for yourself as true happiness?
True happiness to me right now is just being in touch with my authentic self and living from a place of power rather than a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, for me, ever since I've changed my mindset and perception to live in this way, I've just felt like happiness like I'd never felt before.
That's awesome.
Because now I feel like nothing's not possible for me. I'm getting to know my authentic self more and more every day, and it's just like, you know, it's like just an amazing journey, and it's just true happiness, you know?
Yeah. So would you say, like, what would you say you would rate your happiness, like overall happiness on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being
Well,
like
it
the
fluctuates.
highest.
Yeah, it fluctuates throughout the day. I could probably go from a 2 to a 10 within the same day. And I'm learning like that's okay. I don't have to, you know, once I started my blog and everything, I felt like this weird pressure, like, oh, you know, if your readers knew right now that you're like sulking, like you can't write a blog like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm thinking like, no, I'm not, you know, no one is perfect. And even once you go down this path of like changing your mindset and realizing your power and falling in love with your authentic self, like you're still going to have human emotions and human reactions, and you're still going to be, I look at it as a good thing. Like when something pops up that gets me down, it's like, it makes me realize like, oh wow, I still have a negative belief around this.
Yeah, it shows
so I
you
just
something.
take it as like, it's like a sign. Like the universe is saying like, look, you still have this. Do you want to work on it?
Yeah.
And, you know, then that's how I'm looking at things.
Nice. Yeah, I wrote a post recently about like the misconceptions we have around happiness, and one of them was that happy people are always happy, or they don't experience like negative emotions or get frustrated. But yeah, it's definitely not the case. Everyone,
it's not.
No, they all get frustrated. It's just the way we deal with it is.
Yes, I was going to say, that's the thing. That's what's changed. Like before, everything was like something that happened to me and it sucked, and what are we going to do? And now when I get down, it's like, okay, Jessica, you need to get time alone. You need to look at this. You know, like I just feel like I have a different way of handling it. So it's never like, it doesn't feel as low as it used to.
Yeah. So you when you're feeling down or you're feeling negative, is that something you do is take time alone?
Yeah, I know immediately. Like you need to be alone. You need to go to your room, put on your twinkle lights and light a candle, and you just need to chill out. And I'll like journal, or I'll read an inspiring book. Like I have Infinite Possibilities and E-Squared in my tablet, that like highlighted everywhere. And so I will just go through and read all the highlights, or I may just like watch Netflix or something. Like I just know I need to be alone with myself, and to not keep going like used to, just let it pile up and pile up. I just know right then and there, like you need to go be alone, and you need to get in touch with yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, I've said this now on another episode too, but that I just am such a huge advocate of spending alone time because I don't think people do it enough. And it's like the best thing to do when you're feeling down or you're feeling stuck, or you just like, if you don't know like your authentic self, if you're trying to figure out, you know, who that person is, spending time alone is like the best thing to do.
It is. It's like going on a group date with someone over and over. You're never going to get to know them as well as you would if you were alone.
Yeah, that's so true. That's a good analogy.
If you're just on group dates in life, you know, you're just always with other people and you're never alone. Or like when you are alone, if you just scroll through your phone, you're technically not alone.
You're distracted with TV or phone or some other sort of like technology or media. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you could go back in time to a place in your life that you wanted to give yourself some advice, what would you say, and like when would that time be?
Oh, that's a good one. I'd probably go back to when I was like in my teen years.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, that's when, you know, peer pressure and everything just started changing. You kind of lose that childlike happiness and faith. And so I would go back to somewhere in my teen years and let myself know that your imagination creates your reality. Like, you are not a victim. You hold all the power. Your whole entire world is a reflection of what's going on in your mind. So I could have known that, like, oh my gosh.
Everything would have
that would have changed things around like crazy. Yeah.
I want to hear what you have to say more about being the victim, because I know you've mentioned it a few times, and I've actually read something on your blog where you mentioned, moving past the victim mentality. Can you kind of explain like what that is and how it affects you and like how you've overcome that?
Yeah, so for me, being a victim is you feel like life happens to you. Bad things happen to you. They were done to you. And owning it instead of feeling like a victim is so empowering, because it puts you back in a place of control. And I don't get to take what happened to me and like use it to my advantage. For example, when I have this new mindset of I attract to me circumstances, it's not blaming myself. It's more like I see it now as like I attract things to me. Maybe, subconsciously, most of it is subconsciously, like no one chooses to get into a car accident or something, but there is always a reason behind it. And it empowers me because I grow from things rather than feeling like things happen to me, and puts me back into this feeling of powerlessness, and fear and anxiety. And it could be like a whole other podcast episode about
totally. I know
things that happen when you're a child, but even those things, like I use them now as like they help me grow. That's what I'm like using now. Like I said, like my journey down this new path of like learning to love my body, because I had experiences when I was a child, and they've been with me my whole life. But if I just see it as a victim, I'm never really gonna deal with it, other than saying like forgiving this person or whatever. But it's so much more than that. It's like there's so many lessons, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess just in little day-to-day things, like attracting some rude comment that someone says to me, or like I'll get mad at my husband, like he assumes the worst in me. Now, and when I say that to myself, I'm like, wait. If you're attracting everything to you, you're assuming the worst in yourself.
Yeah.
So then I like take him out of the equation. It's not even about him. It's about me. And I think about him like I do assume the worst in myself, or I judge myself. Like whatever I feel other people are doing to me, I'm doing to myself, really. And then they're just reflecting it back.
Yeah, it starts with you.
Yes. So then it helps you grow. That's why it's like you start learning to love yourself. The law of attraction kind of forces you to love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, you're going to keep attracting circumstances that
you don't want around you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
cool. That's some good pieces of advice there. So let's see. I guess I just want to ask you one last question. What are your top 3 tips for a happy life in general?
I would say the first one is realize your power. You're so powerful, and when you know this, it's like a game changer. That you have an imagination for a reason. And when you realize the power that you hold, it's just like so freeing. And then the second thing I would say, like, take time for yourself every day to reflect and listen to yourself. I find journaling super helpful, because sometimes I feel like what I write it's like it's coming from either, like my inner being or something. It's like so healing. So I just reflecting, like self-care. And then the last thing would be to embrace who you are. love yourself, embrace who you are. It's like always going to be a journey, but the journey is so worth it. And stop putting yourself down. I still do this. Like, I'll be like, oh, I'm so forgetful, or I'm so awkward. I used to say that so much. And I have a sense of humor. Like, I still make fun of myself because it's hilarious, but like, I don't do it to the point where I'm just like, I'm just going to warn you that I'm an awkward individual. Like, I'm not going to say that anymore, because it's like, I'm not going to put myself down anymore.
Yeah.
So I just say like the third thing
when you're being funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're saying that all the time, it's
like if you're constantly
you're like
saying it, like
excusing yourself.
Yes.
You shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. So just embrace who you are, love yourself, and
we're all goofy here.
I'm a total goofball. Like, I feel like that's probably one thing most of my readers from my blog probably don't know, is that I'm like
really
so not serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I have like two sides. Like, I get super emotional, and when I write, I love to write like very
thoughtful
about serious
pieces.
things, thoughtful things. Yeah, because I do. But then I go and I do like a ninja kick to my husband in the kitchen. Like, I'm not like serious all the time, and I do laugh at myself, but I just noticed for myself personally that I've had low self-esteem my whole life. So I've really been working on just embracing who I am instead of trying to change it to something I think it should be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think when we run into the word should, I think should just not be in the vocabulary. Because it's not coming from us. It's coming from some external, reasoning or influence.
We've seen somewhere.
Yeah. That's not what we truly want. That's like what someone else is kind of imposing on us. If you ever hear the word should in your mind, just ignore it. Go the opposite direction.
I heard someone say a should, change it to a could, but maybe that's still not very good. If you're like, I should be this, or I could be this.
Yeah, you could,
but then do you want if you say I could, but I don't really want to?
Yeah,
so maybe that helps. It like I could be cleaner, but do I really care?
Yeah, no.
Cleaner, but like your house, or maybe you don't want to be clean. Like, maybe you don't want to take showers.
Today,
I don't know.
Or I'll just be sorry, so that's fine. Well, Jessica, where can people go to get in touch with you if they want to like check you out online or go stalk you on Instagram?
Yeah, jessicadimas.com is my blog, and two of my social handles are Jessica Dimas blog, like on Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm. That's Dimas, correct?
Yes.
Cool. And I'll put those in the notes as well, but just wanted to get that out there. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show today. This was awesome to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for being so like open and honest, because
I love talking about
this. It's not
stuff.
easy. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that is it for today. I really hope you liked this conversation with Jessica. If you found it valuable or even just entertaining, I would love for you to go leave me a review on iTunes. That would be awesome. You can go to punchdrunksoul.com/review. It really helps, if you guys leave a review or a comment, so I know that these episodes are resonating with you. I would love to know, what you think and what you feel. So please do that. And if you'd like to connect with me further, you can find me over at punchdrunksoul.com and also on Instagram at punchdrunksoul. And for any show notes you might be interested in for this episode, you can head over to punchdrunksoul.com/Jessica Dimas. Jessica, JESSICA DIMAS. All right. Thanks for listening, guys.